Decoding Skills Development Legislation with your host, Darren Vandenberg. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Legislation Review. Today is the final discussion of the QCTO policy for RPL implementation. Today we're discussing points 11 and 12. So points 11, let's get into it, is the complaints and appeals. So complaints about the RPL and assessment process by learners should be lodged at an accredited educational institute or skills development provider or its approved site. The procedure is to be decided by the provider institution, but the candidate has the right to know what the procedure is and to be followed. The notice of an appeal must state the grounds on which the applicant is seeking the appeal. So usually there's an appeals procedure in the learner guide or in the pre-assessment guide that the learner knows what the procedure is and how to do it, and the forms. When you use a really good e-portfolio and e-assessment tool like P4P, you can add that into the POE folder of the learner before they start. So when they fill out a declaration, one of their criteria is, I understand the complaints and the appeals procedure and I have access to it, and if they click open the POE folder, there is the procedure that they need to complete and fill out so that they can keep it fair and valid. That then needs to have descriptions, so don't just assume they'll know what to do. So at the beginning of the procedure, make sure that they know, if you fill this out, send it to this email address, address it like this, and do the form from there. That way it keeps it safe and keeps it, if they want, it keeps them protected. Now, in a good e-portfolio and e-assessment system, the assessor will have rated them digitally, which then gives the appeals committee the opportunity to access the e-portfolio and the e-assessment and see what's going on and if the appeal is fair or not, without having to wait for posted information and portfolios to be kind of gathered and then maybe photocopied from a training provider who's in a different region or a different state. It's just all online and digital. So it's very important that. Okay, point 12 talks about quality assurance and monitoring of policy implementation. So this is quite an interesting read. It says RPL is the overall quality assurance. RPL is part of the overall quality assurance system and the quality criteria that applies to the quality assurance of taught programs. QA of RPL is manifested by the establishment and adherence to policies, procedures, standards associated. It validates the knowledge, skills, and values of the learners and are recognized so that they can successfully engage in further learning that contributes meaningfully to the education or employment goals. Okay, so have a good QMS in place, quality management system, have good policies and procedures in place, and let the learners have access to those as and when they need them so that the learners can grow from their experience. Learners, staff, and external stakeholders should form part of ongoing evaluation exercises. So, you do those smiley sheets, but what happens to them? They all get put into after training, they get put into a pile, sent to an administrator who captures them and forgets about them. If people are engaged in the process, self-assessment is a very good opportunity. So what we recommend to our clients is that if a learner is RPLing themselves, they log on to a good technology like ours, they do the declaration, and they then rate themselves how they feel they've done. Once they sign off, then the assessor RPLs them. And then there's a post-assessment discussion saying, do you think it was fair? Do you think it was valid? Did it work? Did you want to appeal? They say yes and no. That gives really good data, because we can pull that data across a learner, different programs, or different programs within a provider, or the same program across different providers. We get really good data that we can offer to you so that you can learn from there, and therefore enables this policy in a really, really good way. It talks about learners should be encouraged to provide feedback on the entire RPL process on completion of the personal RPL undertaken. So because we've done digitally, so chatbot, sign up, pay, apply, get added to P4P by the provider, do a declaration which is video driven, get access to your ePOE and your e-assessment criteria, get phoned by our call center agents once a week, build your portfolio. If you're stuck on the content, your assessor can assist you. If you're stuck on the technology, we show you how to use it. You get a self-assessment, you wrap up, you complete your post-assessment process. That is an end-to-end process, digitally driven, so simple. And at every point, we are showing the learner which part of the process they're going to have to rate. That detail goes back to the training provider. What a pleasure. The provider now knows exactly what's happening end-to-end on the RPL process. And it's a really intriguing scenario. At the end of all the videos, you'll see a link that I put in if you want to sign up as an assessor. Click it with the Digital League of Assessment Practitioners, because that helps you with this. It brings you into a digital assessment platform. You can learn how to assess digitally, and then as we grow, you can grow with us. Very important that. In the quality assurance of RPL, standardization can only take place between similar types of RPL. An effort must be made to allow standardized practice to grow within the sectors, and one approach does not necessarily work across different contexts. Quality assurance of RPL must be undertaken with explicit intention to protect the integrity of the processes and outcomes concerned. Agreed. RPL for qualification, RPL for access, RPL for credits, RPL for short programs or short courses, RPL for designation, RPL for competency, or RPL for job role or promotion, all have different nuances. Our system is built in such a way that it allows for those nuances based on where the learner kicks in. And at the end of the day, when they get the qualification, the certificate, or the promotion, that on there cannot discriminate that it was an RPL process in which they achieved it. They just get the same certificate or the same qualification they would get as if they did it on live learning. It's very important that your assessment criteria are built for that. So yes, there are simple processes. The process works end to end, the one I've just described. However, the criteria changes based on the industry in which you're in, or the sector, or the context in which you're being RPL'd. The last part is monitoring, evaluation, and verification are important elements in the ongoing development of the RPL process in relation to the quality of assessment. This process is ongoing, and monitoring the quality of the entire RPL process is as important as monitoring the outcomes of the RPL assessment. So, very important here. You know, the costs of RPL could become exuberant. If everyone's paying, if the assessor's paying, the moderator's paying, the verifier's paying, it doesn't work. You've got to be a one price for the learner who wants to RPL. Everything else needs to fit into that package so everyone has access to the data that they need and the content that they need in order to RPL themselves. So that brings us to the end of the QCTO policy of RPL. Very intriguing policy. The long and short of it is have good policy in place, put RPL policies in place, link them to your current formative and summative assessments. Make sure that your assessors are well upskilled. Use a digital technology to increase your footprint, decrease the printing, decrease the postage, decrease the losing of information. Use a good platform. Make sure it's trackable. Make sure everything is digitized where you can. It does not have to be expensive. Even the initial uploads, you know, it's got to be cost effective. Work with your assessors. Consider the Digital League of Assessment Professionals. P4P is an e-assessment, e-portfolio, and e-moderation product that's been created to overlay all your e-learning, to overlay your live training, to overlay your classroom-based training, and together we can make RPL work.